Good evening. I welcome everyone to first event of the 2015 Religious Studies Lecture Series. My name is Song Chong. I'm an Associate Professor of Religious Studies. As most of you are already informed, every semester our Religious Studies program invites guest speakers representing different traditions to learn about their special insight into and wisdom on fundamental questions of life. This event is also part of our effort to expand our student understanding of world religions and enhance their critical thinking on a variety of religious issues. So this is actually a key component of the learning experience designed for all of our religion courses. So the topic, religion today, is Islam. I'm very glad to have the privilege to introduce our guest speaker tonight. Our speaker tonight is Imam Dr. Talal Eid. He's currently Director of Religious Affairs of Islamic Center of Great Toledo. Previously, Imam Eid has served the Muslim community in the greater Boston, Massachusetts since 1982, first as the Imam and the Religious Director of the Islamic Center of New England, and later as the founder and the Executive Director of Islamic Institute of Boston. Dr. Eid earned his bachelor's degree in Islamic law from Al-Azhar University, which I think has the most prominent Islamic studies in the world. And he earned his master's degree of theological studies and doctor of theology from Harvard University. In addition to his 40 years of experience as an imam, marital family therapist, and expert on Islamic law, Imam Eid served our government as a commissioner at the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. And he completed 2 terms of his appointment from 2007 to 2011 as a presidential appointee commissioner under both President George W. Bush and President Barack Obama. He has visited numerous countries for issues of religious freedom, representing our country. So I'd like to sincerely thank our speaker for accepting our invitation to speak before us tonight. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Eid.
Good evening. I'm thankful to all of you for coming, and I'm thankful to the beautiful angel that brought us here, because we get a little bit trying to turn around to find the place. But anyway, usually every time I address an audience, I say that no question would make me sweat. So please, you feel free to ask any question that you would like, especially that I will be turning from one subject to another. And I tell you right now, I started to get sweat because these questions are so tough. But I think we do need to learn from one another. Now, when we talk about the issue of Islam and Muslims and asking a person certain questions, do not expect to receive the same answer. Because when you speak of Muslims, you're talking about a variety of traditions, faith, cults also at the same time. You know, the way how you hear about Christianity, you have the Catholic, Protestant, and the Orthodox, and then you have Judaism, you have the Orthodox, the Reform, and also there is the third one. Don't worry about it. So the way that you hear about that, Reform, sorry, it is the same thing for Muslims. And probably you are aware of maybe Sunni and Shi'i, and then you ask the question, who are the Sunni, who are the Shi'i? And right now we are dealing with a problem that turned to be your problem and my problem. Those are the fanatics. You hear about ISIS. You may happen to see bin Laden praying the way we pray. You may happen that you went to a mosque and you saw the people praying there the way that bin Laden was praying. You may experience all these things and you may get confused. You may see someone from ISIS who is trying to behead a person, and this person has a beard like me, or maybe a robe, or maybe... Don't be surprised. We are people. And people are people. There are always good people and bad people in every faith, in every religion, in every society. That's the same. We are human. We try to talk to each other so that we can understand one another. We try to explore our weaknesses and our strength so that we can learn how to interact with one another. In this university, there are rules, there are guidelines. These rules and guidelines for us, because we look at life in a different way. We have different perspectives in life. So let me start explaining some of the things about my tradition, and I will do it to the best of my knowledge and ability. So here, the differences between human and non-human. Yes, according to the Quran stated that, let me relate the verse in Arabic, وَمَا مِن طَائِرٍ يَطِيرُ بِجَنَاحَيْهِ. So he said, every bird that fly, and every also دابة تسير في الأرض, for every beast or animal, those are nations like you. The Quran spoke of other species as they are nations like us. But when we look at the difference, and the difference can be found in chapter 2. If you go to the story of the creation, in chapter 2 of the Quran, and I'm sure you can also consult with the Bible, and you find similarities in the story of creation, maybe different way of presenting this story. That when God wanted to create a human, God created Adam. And God instructed the angels to bow to Adam. Now we are talking about differences here. And you may think this bowing for why? Worship? No. It is recognition. That God created this human in a very perfect but complicated way. And the story of creation would provide such meaning as the angels were asked to bow to Adam, and the angels did. The difference is that the angels do not have the free choice. God created the human with the free choice, provided they do not abuse their freedom of choice. The angels are creation of light, according to Islam. They have a similar existence as us, but different function and different life, not like us. Now, God asked Satan And Satan is considered from the jinn, the demons. God asked Satan to bow to Adam in recognition of this power that God created. But Satan refused. And when Satan was asked why you refused to obey, Satan says, I am better than him. Why? Here, the terminology is different. Satan says, I am a creation of fire. He is a creation of mud. And in the terminology, according to Satan's terminology, fire has power, more power than the power of mud. But God has his ultimate wisdom. That God wanted this human to be the vicegerent, the agent of God. And God gave us something so precious, the freedom to choose, the freedom to live. But unfortunately, as we see in the story of creation, that when God told Adam and his wife to live in a place that has all kinds of luxuries, but said to him, do not come near the tree. Do not eat from the tree. Adam and his wife, both of them, were fascinated by the luxury of life, and they forgot that they have to remember the rules and guidance that God gave them. So they disobeyed. And this is where we see ourselves as a human. We are so strong, but we are so weak. How can you put the two together? There is something in us that the Quran says, أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. The Quran mentions something very important, that God gave us the eyes, the tongue, the lips, and the brain and the heart. The brain and the heart, they function together the way man and woman function together to make this world a better world. That the heart and the brain, they are supposed to give us enough guidance of how to run our life properly. So this is how I understand how God created me, different than other species here. Talking about heaven, talking about hell. Okay. If you want to understand Islam and you started to read about two things: pillars of action, pillars of faith. Pillars of action, that's what we say, that as a Muslim, what you need to do. So you will find the prayer, the charity, fasting, pilgrimage. When you go to the pillars of faith, it means you have to believe in these pillars the way they are, even though I cannot prove them to you. For example, when we say, I believe in God, and then someone is going to come and tell me, show me. Prove to me. I said, if you want to learn about God, look at the universe. I don't need to prove to you. I believe in God. Why? Because it's part of the believing of the Scripture. So here is now, you believe in God, and then the Scripture and the messengers and day of judgment. And then fate and destiny. So maybe number 5 is the one that can help me respond to the question of heaven and hellfire. Do heaven exist? And do hellfire exist? You think I can prove them to you? If I said yes, I'll be mistaken. I'm sorry. I cannot prove them to you. But if I believe that this whole universe is created by a power, I call it God, others call it Mother Nature, it doesn't matter. But there is a power. And whether I was originated as a monkey or a perfect human, at the end, there is a creator. You know, someone was telling me about the evolution, and the human was originated from a monkey. And I said, okay, but who created the monkey? Please give me an answer. Of course, science would not give you an answer, how monkey existed. But I say, okay, I'll take it as is. God created me as a perfect human being. It doesn't matter how. But there is a creator. Okay. Now, we are placed in this earthly life. And someone messed up with you. And you took the person to court. Because that's what we do here. There is no one has the right to take the law by hand. Someone messed up. Say, okay, you did great, grave mistake. I was hurt by you. I went to the court. And the judge asked me, do you have a proof? I said, no, I don't have a proof. Well, I'm sorry. I cannot do anything to you. Okay? How many murderers are loose in the street because lack of evidences? How many innocent people are in jail? Good number of them. See, the earthly law system is so limited that you enter the court and you see the big sign, justice is blind. Okay? I do need the right justice. And I believe that hellfire and heaven are the place where we all find justice, where sometimes we are unable to find it on earth here. Now, I talk about service. How can we survive here as a human? I understand that people of faith grappled in the past over the issue of who is going to hell and who is going to heaven. And let me be clear. You have Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Those are considered as Abrahamic faith. But for some reason, if you check the past, the three faiths were involved in bloodshed, dispute. Not all the time, but I say quite often. One of the major issues here is that Jews believe that they are the chosen people, that they will go to heaven. And about the rest, no, they go to hell. The Christians, no, they will go to heaven. The rest, they will go to hell, because to go to heaven, you have to believe in Jesus Christ. You need to get to salvation. Now, go to the Muslims. No, the Muslims are going to heaven. About the rest, they're going to hell. Don't tell anyone. Okay. You know, according to that, it's amazing. It means 3 of them would go to heaven, and 3 of them will go to hell. All right. So once I was giving a lecture to a group of priests. And after the lecture, one of them approached me and asked me, am I going, according to Islam, according to your religion, am I going to hell or to heaven? I said, oh, what a tough question. And I told him, I want to ask you first. Am I going to heaven or going to hell? And he immediately said to me that you are going to hell. So why? He said, because you have to believe in Jesus Christ as the Savior. I said, okay, both of us are clergy, and both of us are entrusted to guide our communities. So what will happen if you say to me that I will go to hell, and I say to you that you go to hell? What will happen to us? We're not going to survive. We will spend the time hating each other. But why don't we leave that issue to God? Let Him decide and let us live our life. We have so many things for us to work it out. We have young people falling into drugs, to alcohol. We have, both of us, we have the issue of drunk drivers. Why don't we concentrate on guiding our people, how to save themselves in this earthly life, and let God take care of us when we get there? So the point here, the Quran says, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. Okay, what the Quran says here, it says, "O people, God created you from a male and a female," that's Adam and Eve, "and made you into nations and communities to know one another." Okay, so the concept of life as a Muslim, or you can be of any faith. And I doubt that your faith is different than mine. To know one another, it is in Islam it is in Judaism, it is in Christianity, it is in Buddhism, it is in Hinduism, in any faith that you read about or you may believe in. We all are the same. It is either we are of what we say godly faith or humanistic. Godly faith, we believe in God. Jews, Christian, Muslims, they all pray to God. Don't we? It's only we pray differently. But we all pray and we say, God, guide us. Guide us to the right path. We all say that. The Jews, they say shalom. They say salamu alaikum. Christians, they say peace. Muslims, they say salamu alaikum. Look at that. Look at the issue of neighbor, whether in Judaism or Christianity or Islam. The neighbor has a very unique position in three of them. Now, there is something here, maybe a short story that I related to you. That once the Prophet Muhammad was late into coming to the night prayers. So in his mosque in Medina, and this is where, you need to read something about the life of Prophet Muhammad so that, you can understand something. All what is in your mind that the ISIS did that and behead that and this, you're not exposed to the positive meanings of Islam. We are exposed to Carson who say, a Muslim cannot be a president. Thank you, Mr. Carson. But in Medina, the Prophet was late into coming into prayer. So he came, he found the Muslims waiting for him. So he said to them, he said, you are the most devoted people on earth. Say, أنتم أعبد أهل الأرض. Now, pay attention to the revelation that came. So, of course, when you speak of the Quran, you're not talking about a book that was found under the pillow. Even books did not exist at that time the way it has existed today like that. So, the Quran was revealed throughout a period of 23 years. And each revelation has a background, historical background. Muslims and non-Muslims, they get lost when they read the Quran. They read here, kill. Oh, here, peace. So what's going on here? Yes, you have to learn the historical background and you have to understand who translated this Quran. So the revelation came and it says, لَيْسُوا سَوَاء. They are not equal. Not all people the way you are saying. And then the Quran says, من أهل الكتاب أمة قائمة يتلون آيات الله. He said, of the people of the book, there are those who stand for prayers. So he say here, he's saying that the way you Muslims stand for prayers, the people of the book, Christians and Jews, they also do stand for prayers. He said, يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. They believe in God. They believe in the last day of judgment. And they establish prayers. And they give charity. And whatever they do, God will give them their due reward. So where is this that, non-Muslims will go to hell and Muslims will go to heaven? When the Prophet Muhammad was asked, is there a possibility that you go to hell? He said, yes. Unless God bestowed mercy on me. So please do not understand that, oh, Muslims have a secure tunnel. They go to heaven. I said, no. You think that, oh, being Muslim, that's it? No. You find that the Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. So it means my relationship with you is a relationship of good deeds. So you have the definition of the Muslim as believing in God, and that's the spirituality, which is coming, and I'll end with it. And then you have good deeds. Good deeds. And you're going to say, oh, what this man is saying, good deeds? All what we hear about terrorists and Muslims are killing and beheading and all these things. Yes, good deeds. Without good deeds, a person is not a Muslim. So when the press come and ask me, so who are those? I said, those are not Muslims. They pray. I don't care. Even if they have a beard longer than mine, or a turban, or whatever the way they dress, they are evil. And when I say they are not Muslims, I'm not insulting non-Muslims. I'm saying not Muslims. Okay? So don't get confused between this and that. I already said that whether to be a Muslim or not a Muslim, that's your choice. And the Quran said, no compulsion in religion. You cannot force anyone into a faith. People come to me as a clergy. People come, they ask me about Islam and this and that. And the person came, he said, I'm thinking, I want to declare my Islam. I say, well, whenever you want. He said, but what? I'm afraid. Afraid? So afraid of what? He said, I'm afraid that what if afterward decided to abandon Islam? And I said, yeah, okay, if you want, you can do it. He said, oh, you're going to come after me and kill me. So I said, I live in America. We don't live somewhere else. He said, no, I never said to you. We never say that, oh, if you accept Islam, and then you decided you don't want Islam, so we have to go after you. He said, that's not accepted. It's not according to the Quran. So today, it's to be a Muslim is to be a person of goodwill who is willing to help. Of course, this is a university here. Are there Muslim students here? Are there Muslim students? So you have to look at them. You have how many ambassadors here? Talk to them and find out whether what you hear stereotypes true or not. That's the issue now that I end with, spirituality. Before I just came here, this is my 4th month or 5th month, whatever. But I spend most of my time in Boston. I was a chaplain at Mass General Hospital. And I was chaplain at Brigham and Women Hospital. Mass General Hospital, maybe it is between number 1 hospital in the world or number 2, whichever you want to put it. And Brigham and Women is counted as number 10 in the nation. And I was a Muslim chaplain there. And do you think why the hospitals are interested to have a chaplain? If you check, and physicians, they always contact me. They ask me questions. They want to know exactly how can they be sensitive to Muslim patients, how can they help in all these things. But I asked them, why do you need a chaplain in the hospital? He said, chaplains help indirectly. And the part of the treatment that we give, part of the treatment, is provided by the chaplains. That's what we call spirituality. And there is the religious spirituality. There is the humanistic spirituality. Okay? But all at the end, you try to connect yourself with a higher power. That's spirituality. And sometimes we call it peace of mind. And believe me, spirituality cannot be achieved except if you are a peaceful person. I know people who act in evil ways. Those people, they survive by taking drugs. They cannot achieve spirituality. They resort to drugs so that they will be able to have peace of mind. So in short, to have a spiritual connection with the Creator, you need to be good to the people. And by doing that, you will find that your faith and the pluralistic society that you live in, they match each other and complement each other. I'd like to thank you, and please, if you have a question or if you believe that I did not address certain question, and I'll be glad to do that. And also I have your professors, if you believe that I missed any point, I'll be glad to clarify it. I usually, most of the time, my wife comes with me. I like to introduce her. And maybe I introduce also Mrs. Shaheen, who's sitting next to her. Mrs. Shaheen is a resident of Findlay for how many years? 40 years? 50? Oh, God bless you. And the next is my son, Yusuf, our son. So my wife comes and she likes always to comment of whatever I say. So let's see if she has any comments that if you would like to add anything. If not, then we go for the questions. Okay. My wife is a graduate of Lesley University, by the way. So. Yes. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, a couple of years, I was watching TV, and then I found a rabbi, he was interviewed, and he's England. And he was asked about the Jews of the United States. And he says that the Jews of the United States are not following Judaism, by the way. So with that, of course, we can debate what he says. But that's what I want you to know, that the Muslims, or American Muslims, there is no way to compare them to the Muslims in the Middle East. And when I say even the Middle East is not a fair word today, because there are so many countries in the Middle East. So let's say Middle Eastern countries, even Middle Eastern countries, Islam is understood differently, and the behavior of Muslims is totally different. And then you have to go to Asia, and where people connect Islam with Saudi Arabia, you need to be aware that only 30% or 35% of Muslims are Arabs. 65% of Muslims are non-Arabs. They do not speak the Arabic language, even though they read the Quran in Arabic. So the way you mentioned Saudi Arabia, it's like Saudi Arabia is for some Christians it's like the Pope in Rome and the Vatican and all these things. But in no way you can say that Saudi Arabia represent only Islam. No. They have their culture, okay? And someone, he asked me, he said, what is that, you Muslims? Women cannot drive. So what? So do you mean that my wife was violating the religion now for 30 years? I said, my wife drives. She never thought that she cannot drive. Huh? What? Oh, well, how come they say? I say, where? So in Saudi Arabia. I say, okay. Saudi Arabia, they have their rules. There are many rules exist in Saudi Arabia that may not exist somewhere else. And whether you criticize Saudi Arabia or you do not criticize Saudi Arabia, it's up to you. But those people, the way here in our society, the way we function here, and we have our ideals, so it is the same. It could be in other Muslim countries. They have their ideals also. But any ideal that consider an innocent person to be a target for violence, this is not an ideal. This is a crime against humanity. And I don't care who is doing it. It can be done by a Muslim. It can be done by a non-Muslim. The issue of terrorists is not just an earmarked of Muslims. Terrorists exist in many places. But I agree with you. I said I am part of the confusion because I see a person who is praying like me and says that he or she devoted like me, and then they harm innocent people. Then he said, this is un-Islamic, and whatever you practice is false, even if you pray like me. It doesn't matter. So when we speak of Muslims, we say Muslims in the West are totally different than Muslims in Latin America or any part of the world. But I tell you, most Muslims, if you want to consider, if you look at American Muslims, even though today we're talking about 5 generations of Muslims who are born here, but still you ask those who came from there, You ask them. And they'll tell you, we never changed. You know, I came from Lebanon in 82. Do you think I was evil there and I came here and I became an angel? No. I was there. My wife came with me. She was the same thing. She never changed. And we have lots of friends here, Muslims and non-Muslims. We love peace. And so many Muslims love peace because the message of Islam is peace. Yes?
Well, I appreciate all that you're saying tonight. I guess I'm still somewhat chagrined to understand that no one says what you're saying in public after we have such horrendous things like beheadings and what have you that goes on with bad people. But no one stands up and says, they're not, out loud to the world, they are not Muslim. They are bad people. And I know there's a lot of fear in the world, too, because if you speak up, sometimes these bad people come and blow your house up. But since there's nobody saying they're bad people, they keep growing and growing.
Yeah. You know, let me tell you, during the tragedy of September 11, I moved from one place to another to offer prayers. And I was in Boston, and a police officer, the police gave me a cruise and a police officer to move me from one place to another. And so many Muslims did the same. And many Muslims do say what I say. Let me tell you this. So once I was in the prayers follow after an event that happened in England, the train terrorist attack. I was in an event, and I gave a statement to the Boston Globe. They published my statement. Do you know where? In the middle of the newspaper, in small letter. That an imam says, who's going to read this? I am willing to go with you. This is not a secret society here. This is an open society. I am coming to speak to you in an open and free society. I say that everywhere. Many people say that the same thing. But who report that? And also, when I say something nice, they put it in the middle, while a terrorist attack, they put it in the front page. So big. So as we say, every time it is cloudy, it's gonna rain on us, American Muslims. And we American, I really appreciate President Obama. President Obama is saying Muslims are part of the fabric of America. Okay? And in no way you can confuse Muslims with terrorists. Terrorist is an ideology. It's an agenda. It's not a religion. And if you want to tell me about Christianity, I tell you, well, look at David Koresh. Who's David Koresh? Who are the Crusaders? Who is John Paul II? Who issued an apology for the people of the world for what the Crusaders in particular did. I do the same. I do offer apology that there are people are misbehaving. But if you look at people like ISIS, 80% of the victims of ISIS and the Qaeda are Muslims. 80%. Because every time someone stand up and try to expose them, they kill him. He's killed. So me and you, we are having the same problem. And we need to work together. Okay, I understand that there is a big problem, tragedy. Whether you talk Libya, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Tunisia, Yemen, Somalia, okay? That's a big problem. I want you to remember, maybe I am mistaken. If I'm mistaken, please disregard what I say. I want you to go back 50 years, maybe more, or maybe 100 years. There was a civil war in America. And if you go back to dark ages in Europe, there was a civil war. And because Muslims, we are at the end. Now it's our turn. Now it is the term, it seems, for Muslims to do the same. Because there is no way you can see that they are getting along together. Any country you want. And so today, you look at the issue of Iraq or in Libya or all those countries I mentioned. Just concentrate on Yemen and see how you find Sunni Shias involved together against each other. What do you say about that? There is something serious. I really don't know. I'm confused. I'm from Lebanon. I want to go back to my country. I want to visit my family. I cannot. Because I need permission from Hezbollah. Okay? So we are having problems. I don't know how the problem will end. And whether I agree or disagree. Because when we address the issue of Iraq and how President Bush took the decision to invade Iraq and how nations were divided, whether this is the right thing or the wrong thing, and then how Iraq ended. And then again, the West interfered, the issue of Libya. And whether it was the right thing, the wrong thing, we don't know. And now, the same thing, whether Russia or the West. Same thing is going on in Syria. We move one step, back up 2 steps, and what's going on in Syria, we don't know. So, as a Muslim, sometimes I say, please, Western countries, leave the Muslims alone. Leave them alone. Let them fight each other. And whoever will win, will win. But here you say, no, we cannot do that. Because we tried before, and then we had Al-Qaeda, and now we have ISIS. So you find things is so complicated. Religion has nothing to do with that. Oh, we Muslims here, American Muslims, we live here, we don't see a problem. And refugees. Now, I'm sure you heard in the news. Obama announced accepting 70,000 Syrian refugees coming here. Do you hear about those who die in the middle of the ocean in small boat? They take the risk, and children dying. Does that mean that those people hate the West or they love the West? They are dying to get to the West. So religion has nothing to do with that. Hating non-Muslims, it has nothing to do with that. Something going on. I call it politics and nothing else. In what? The last word you said? Oh, jihad. Yeah, today I'm very sensitive talking about jihad. Because if I said jihad, people say, Qaeda, ISIS. I'm sorry, the word jihad is so beautiful in Islam, but it was manipulated. You know, me coming to speak to you today is my jihad. But if from the beginning, if I told you that, then everybody will leave and say, oh, we're not going to hear a bunch of terrorists coming here to us, talk to us. I mean, what is jihad? Jihad is to promote goodness, to work hard, to struggle, to accomplish something. Yes, you know, war is part of jihad. But what kind of war here? Let me tell you this. Let's say American Muslims here. We don't like ISIS. So we decided to form an army in America and then go and fight ISIS. Would Obama allow us to do that? I said, no, you cannot. So our action can be considered jihad if American government accepted to fight as part of the system. That's the jihad. But to tell me to form a gang, then go and kill innocent people, and then say, hey, that's my jihad, that's false. Jihad is a beautiful word, but unfortunately, jihad and Sharia, both of them, American Muslims, they very sensitive talking about them in the society here. Because when they say Sharia, comes in their mind beheading and cutting the head. They say, hey, and that's why Carson, he said, oh, no, a Muslim cannot be a president of the United States. I said, why? What are you afraid? Oh, because a Muslim may start now talking about Sharia and wants to cut the hand and what's... Come on, so the jihad is to do something good to help humanity. Good night.